A felled tree never means the job is over. A large stump slowing down your land clearing? Not anymore. After a massive tree is cut down, its enormous root system clings to the soil and rocks like a living block of concrete. And to destroy it, humans have created machines that can crush, tear, uproot, and shred the entire stump in seconds. From compact stump crushers to 1,000-horsepower wood chippers, the destructive power increases exponentially. Leave a 1 if you're ready to explore the power of the most terrifying stump destroyer. Introducing the CBI Stump Shear, a hydraulic steel jaw designed for tree stumps that conventional excavators struggle to handle. Instead of chipping away at the layers, it directly targets the hardest parts, gripping, pressing down, tearing the roots, and splitting the log in half right on the ground. The CBI Stump Shear SS20 is designed for excavators of approximately 55,000 to 100,000 pounds, powerful enough to lift, rotate, and pull large tree stumps. Combined with an auxiliary hydraulic piston, the shear head generates immense force, penetrating deep into the stump, breaking through the hard wood, and pulling the root system out of the ground. As the steel jaws close, the wood begins to crack, the large roots are stretched taut, and the ground around the stump crumbles. Each clamping motion weakens the stump, until the entire root system is lifted out of the ground by hydraulic force. After its initial blast with steel jaws, the next machine handled the site in a different way. It crushed the material right on the spot, without needing to gather it up and transport it away. The Mulcher AHWI RT800 is a tracked forest shredder designed for heavy clearing operations where brush, large roots, and decaying wood are no longer minor obstacles, but rather form a thick layer in front of you. With a CAT C18 engine producing approximately 640 HP, a weight of around 26 tons when the shredder head is attached, and a working width of approximately 2.3 meters, the RT800 has enough power to penetrate areas where smaller machines struggle. As the shredder head descends, the large rotor begins to draw in brush, exposed roots, and decaying wood. Everything is shredded, crushed, and then spread back into a coarse layer of mulch on the ground. The strength of the AHWI RT800 lies not in handling a single tree stump, but in its ability to clear a large area of land in just a few passes. While the RT800 excels at clearing entire areas, the next machine is terrifying in its precision. It doesn't just crush indiscriminately, but strikes directly at the roots of stubborn trees, destroying them from the inside out. The AHWI RT400 belongs to the heavy-duty forest shredder group, designed for clearing land, opening roads, and handling vegetation on large areas. It doesn't process each tree stump slowly. It moves directly into dense areas, allowing its front shredder head to continuously break and crush the debris. In areas full of bushes, small logs, and exposed roots, workers can spend a lot of time cutting, gathering, and clearing each section individually. The RT400 changes that entirely. The tracked chassis moves forward, the shredder head lowers, touching the obstructing vegetation. Small logs are broken into pieces. Bushes are pulled under the rotor. Exposed roots and decaying wood are broken into small fragments. Behind the machine, a new path appears, covered with coarse wood chips replacing the tangled vegetation. The RT400 doesn't just process a single tree stump, it clears the entire surrounding area. As it moves forward, the crushing head sucks up bushes, small roots, rotten wood, and tangled debris, turning them into coarse sawdust right beneath the machine. Behind the RT400, a new, clearer, neater, and more accessible path emerges. This is the power of a modern earth-moving machine, crushing, leveling, and clearing the ground in a single pass. But there are tree stumps that aren't part of a thicket. They stand alone, stubborn, firmly rooted in the ground, and require a more precise approach. And the Dipperfox SC850 Pro is built for exactly that kind of task. The Dipperfox SC850 Pro is unlike many familiar stump grinders. It doesn't move horizontally across the wood surface. Instead, it sits directly on the stump and spins down like a giant steel drill. The grinder approaches the stump. The Dipperfox head is centered and slowly lowered, like a steel drill preparing to penetrate the wood core. The wood in the center is broken first, then the swirling force continues to penetrate deeper. Wood shavings spill out around the stump, each layer of hard wood being torn apart from the core. The strength of the Dipperfox lies in its direct and efficient handling. It doesn't need to dig around the stump, nor does it need to pull the entire root ball out of the ground. The drill head strikes directly at the hardest core, using extremely powerful torque to grind the stump vertically. Each rotation breaks down another layer of internal structure. From a thick and hard block of wood, the stump is gradually hollowed out, cracked, and then crumbled right under the grinding head. Wood chips flying around the drill bit indicate that the destructive force is not just on the surface, but penetrating deep into the core of the tree stump. This equipment requires very high precision. The drill bit must be positioned correctly. The pressure must be sufficient to penetrate the wood, but not cause excessive vibration. The rotation speed needs to be kept stable so that the stump is crushed evenly, without being tilted to one side. The Dipperfox offers a different feel, less messy, more direct, and very sharp. But for very large, very old stumps, with deep roots and rocky ground, a heavier machine would be more suitable. The PTH-WSF 400 stump grinder feels heavy and durable. It's a stump grinder designed for tough jobs, where the stump is large, the roots are firmly embedded, and the ground is difficult to remove. The grinding head presses down on the stump with powerful force. The rotor starts spinning. The grinding teeth bite into the hard wood, and fragments are flung away from the surface. Dust, soil, and wood are kicked up with each stroke. The stump doesn't disappear immediately, but is steadily eroded layer by layer. The PTH-WSF 400 doesn't feel rushed. It works with weight, durability, and deep grinding capabilities. Each grinding stroke lowers the stump surface slightly. Hard wood is broken up, roots close to the ground are chopped into small pieces, and the entire obstruction gradually transforms into a coarser, more easily leveled material. What's remarkable about this machine isn't its enormous size, but the way it maintains a very consistent and powerful grinding force. The crushing head presses against the tree stump, gradually eating away at the wood layer by layer, instead of trying to crush everything at once. This allows the operator to better control the crushing direction, depth, and speed. For stubborn stumps, this stability is what ensures the machine works efficiently from start to finish. The power of the PTH doesn't lie in a sudden, devastating blow, but in its ability to withstand heavy workloads. A large stump is crushed layer by layer, slowly but surely, until its original shape is almost completely lost. Following the PCH-WSF 400, we come to the Bandit SG40 stump grinder, a more compact machine, but with a very sharp working method. Instead of using brute force to crush thick layers of wood, the Bandit SG40 processes the stump with fast, even, and precise cuts. The Bandit SG40 stump grinder is a specialized stump grinder, suitable for areas requiring clean processing without extensive excavation. It approaches the stump, lowers its cutting head, and begins planing the wood protruding from the ground. The grinding wheel glides horizontally across the stump's surface. Each cutting tooth eats into the hard wood, removing a thin layer with each pass. Wood shavings are scattered around, while the stump gradually lowers before your eyes. There are no unnecessary movements, no complicated operations, just regular and precise cuts. The Bandit SG40 provides a very clear feel. Starting from a solid stump, the machine gradually planes until the protruding part is destroyed and lowered below ground level. The work is clean, easy to monitor, and the results are immediately visible. Although much smaller than the machine mentioned earlier, the SG40 still requires careful handling. The cutting head must move evenly, avoiding cutting too deeply into one spot, while controlling the direction of the wood shavings. A hasty operation can cause the machine to vibrate excessively or result in uneven grinding. For gardens, walkways, post-tree clearing areas, or places requiring quick cleanup, the Bandit SG40 is a very practical choice. It doesn't uproot the entire root system like a large excavator, but it cleanly and efficiently handles the exposed stumps. From a standalone stump grinder, we move on to a device that utilizes the power of a tractor, simpler but still powerful enough to transform stubborn tree stumps into mulch. The Baumalight 3P24 stump grinder is a tractor-mounted stump grinder. While not as bulky as the shear heads on heavy excavators, it's highly practical for farms, orchards, and areas requiring post-mining clearing. As the tractor backs into position, the grinder head is lowered close to the stump. The cutting blades begin to grind into the hardwood, each tooth grinding down layer by layer, scattering sawdust behind the tractor and gradually removing the exposed stump. The Baumalight 3P24's strength lies in its compactness and ease of deployment. With a suitable tractor and the specialized grinder head, work can begin without needing a large excavator. For small to medium-sized plots, this is a powerful, practical, and efficient option. The grinder grinds directly on site, minimizing the need to drag the stump elsewhere and preventing excessive uprooting of the surrounding ground. After several steady grinding passes, the hard wood clung to the ground, leaving only a low layer of debris, making the surface cleaner, easier to level, replant, or create pathways. Up to this point, we've seen many ways to dispose of tree stumps: tearing them apart with steel jaws, grinding entire areas of land, drilling directly into the wood core, or using a tractor to plane layers of hardwood. So, which method do you find most terrifying? Uprooting the entire stump, crushing it on the spot, or tearing it apart with hydraulics? Comment below, because we'll soon be looking at even more powerful and destructive machines. The WG24 PTO stump grinder is a compact but impressively powerful stump grinder. A 24-inch grinding wheel, 34 tungsten carbide teeth, a grinding depth of approximately 6 inches, and a PTO shaft with a slip clutch for safer operation. When mounted behind a tractor, the WG24 utilizes the force from the PTO shaft to rotate the grinding wheel. As the machine is brought close to the stump, the grinding wheel lowers, and the carbide teeth begin to cut into the hardwood, gradually wearing away sections and leaving sawdust around the work area. The WG24's strength lies in its compactness and robustness. It's not as massive as heavy-duty machines, but it still delivers noticeable results with each pass. The cutting blades gradually cut from the outer edge toward the center, causing the stump to gradually disappear until it almost vanishes. With its 24-inch grinding wheel, 34 carbide teeth, and a grinding depth of approximately 6 inches, the WG24 is suitable for small to medium-sized jobs. This isn't a machine for tearing apart giant tree stumps, but with the right tractor and the right type of stump, it works very steadily, is easy to control, and is reliable. But crushing tree stumps isn't always necessary. There are cases where you need to remove the entire root ball from the ground, keeping the soil and roots intact. And Holt Tree Spades will show you a completely different way to handle that. Holt Tree Spades doesn't chop, crush, or tear the tree trunk into pieces. Instead, it uses large steel spade blades to grip the root ball, lifting the entire mass off the ground. Each blade descends slowly, cutting through the soil and small roots. Clearly defined cracks appear in the ground around the tree. The blades close, holding the root ball securely. Then, the entire mass of soil is lifted, leaving a clean, deep hole. This stage of the process isn't characterized by flying sawdust or the continuous roar of the grinding blades. What's remarkable is how the machine slowly digs into the soil around the root, separating each root section from the ground while keeping the entire root ball intact. A large, heavy, and firmly attached root mass is lifted almost entirely. The power here isn't about destruction, but about digging in the right place, applying the right force, and lifting the entire tree with astonishing precision. Holt Tree Spades are suitable for tasks requiring uprooting, relocating, or removing entire tree trunks. With large trees, the steel blades act like a giant mold, plunging into the ground, gripping the roots, and lifting the entire mass. As the massive tree trunk begins to lift from the ground, the machine's full power is demonstrated in a very different way. It's not noisy, it doesn't crush everything in its path, but every movement is precise, solid, and incredibly controlled. After the roots and trunk have been removed from the ground, there's one final task: handling the remaining massive volume of wood. And the machine will ultimately do that at industrial speed. JENZ HEM 821DQ appears as the final piece of the puzzle in the tree clearing process. Once the root has been uprooted, the remaining trunk, large branches and wood chips will be put into this giant chipping machine to be crushed into wood chips in just a short time. With a capacity of about 1,132 HP, a large chopping drum of about 1,400 millimeters, and the ability to process wood materials up to about 500 cubic meters per hour, the JENZ HEM 821DQ belongs to the group of industrial choppers for extremely large workloads. The crane picks up the logs and puts them into the chopping throat. The roller pulls the material inside. The shredding drum rotates at high speed and turns the long tree trunk into a strong stream of wood chips sprayed through the exhaust pipe. After just a few seconds, the large blocks of wood no longer have their original shape, but become small, even, and easier to transport materials. The strength of the JENZ HEM 821DQ lies in its continuous processing speed. The crane, feed throat, rollers, and chopping drum must coordinate smoothly so that the machine almost never has to stop. From uprooting, tearing roots, grinding soil to shredding the remaining wood, it's all done with the incredible power of this machine. If you find which machine is the scariest, leave a comment below. Don't forget to follow the channel so you don't miss bigger, stronger, and more dangerous machines in the next videos.